guys, welcome back to Fancy Goldfish Fanatics. In today's video, I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the GSGB, which is the Goldfish Society of Great Britain. You may have seen a few months ago, I did a few videos on the Goldfish Society of Great Britain show, and in today's video, I want to talk a little bit more about it. I feel like I probably haven't spoken about it that much on the channel, and I thought it was time for me to do a video on it, explain about it in a little bit more detail, and maybe some of you at home would potentially even like to join it and become a member like me. So the Goldfish Society of Great Britain, otherwise known as the GSGB, is essentially a goldfish society where you can keep up to date with all of the relevant, new, fresh information. It is actually run by Star Fisheries. Now, it is actually a separate business or separate entity from Star Fisheries, but they actually purchased it, I believe, in 2018 and now run that group. Now, being a GSGB member means that you get access to the national show, or you get first dibs essentially on turning up to it. You also get to join the members forum, which is an online forum where you can talk with other like-minded hobbyists, and you can also get lots of relevant and important information from other breeders and other goldfish keepers as well. And you also get access to the quarterly newsletter, which I have put a few articles in myself, and it has loads of really relevant information to the fancy goldfish hobby, loads of updates from Star Fisheries, new fish potentially coming in, and lots of articles from hobbyists and other members of the GSGB, which is always really nice to read. Now, not only is the GSGB for members within the UK, but they also actually welcome other members outside of the UK. There are different members from Europe, and I believe in the national event in September, there were actually a few members who came from overseas to see the event and see all of the goldfish on display, which is absolutely amazing. The GSGB, to my knowledge, is the oldest goldfish society within the entire world. It was actually formulated just after World War II in 1948. So it was actually formulated by someone called Captain Betts, and it was actually created above a pub near Tower Bridge, which is actually really funny to think about. Now, I'm going to put on the screen a little snippet, which were the original sort of initiatives set out by Captain Betts in 1948 and the years post that, which were actually the objective of what they wanted to get out of the GSGB. Now, I believe back in those times it was very hard to import fancy goldfish, so there weren't many varieties at all which were held by hobbyists and members of this GSGB, and it sort of gives you a rough idea of where the GSGB started and how it's progressing and changing and evolving as the years and decades go by. Obviously, the GSGB has a national event, which is usually held on the 30th of September, where members can bring their fish, show their fish, compete against each other. There is also an auction, and we have guest speakers as well. It's a really nice day. I personally went to my first one this year, and it was a really, really good day, and hopefully each year as the years go by, more and more people will join and more people will turn up. I believe the GSGB is trying to get more of a younger audience into the showing scene and just into the club as a general, trying to expand its horizons, tailor itself towards the younger audience, and just get as many people to turn up at the events, communicate, and just basically network all together, because it really isn't such a serious hobby or a serious group of people as you would initially think. I thought maybe it was really a close-knitted club, and I was a bit worried sort of coming in as a newcomer, but everyone was really, really welcoming, especially at the national event, and it was great to see and meet like-minded hobbyists, and everyone is there for the same reason. We all love goldfish. So it was a real eye-opener, and I hope that the GSGB will expand, get lots of new faces in over the next few years, and really start to create a nice vibe and a nice hub for fancy goldfish hobbyists of all ages. Now, in 2018, the GSGB numbers started to dwindle, and it was actually owned by some slightly older people who, unfortunately, some of them passed away, and some of them were not able to look after the GSGB anymore, and the club, so to say, was starting to get smaller, and that is actually where Andy from Star Fisheries took over the club or took over the society, I should say, and started to resurrect it, I suppose you could say, and get more members involved, try and branch out into different areas with the newsletter and obviously having the national event. And I'm sure over the years we'll have more things to come. Hopefully I will try and put a few ideas towards the GSGB, see if we can get a bit more involvement with the hobbyist itself, or the us hobbyists, maybe some of you guys at home, maybe do some activities or even more events potentially. But hopefully we'll see what we can do over the coming years and just increase the popularity of the society and get loads of people involved and connected as well. So since 1948, when the GSGB was originally created, it is obvious that the objectives and the way that the society is run is changing over time, especially with the fast-moving developments in the fancy goldfish hobby. Obviously, nowadays we have so many more varieties than they had back 70 odd years ago, and the hobby has changed so much. The way aquariums are run, the filtration, the water keeping techniques, water quality, etc. There are so many different things that are changing and evolving as time goes by, and I think it's really good that the GSGB is actually noticing this and adapting to it, moving with the times and making it more of an inclusive and accessible goldfish society for all of its members. I would say that maybe 20-30 years ago the GSGB was more aimed at breeders and hobbyists that bred their fish maybe at home, not on a commercial scale, but that were really focused on specific standards and specific looks and specific types of fancy goldfish. They weren't interested in some of the newer varieties that we are now seeing over the past decade, and it was really tailored at, I would say, a smaller hub of breeders that would compete against each other, and it would be more of a competitive stance. Now, this is the insight that I'm getting from numerous sources and what I've collectively put together from myself. So this may not be factually correct, but this is what I believe the GSGB was. And I think that over time, breeders' numbers are dwindling. There are not as many hobbyists that are personally breeding their fish, and a lot of hobbyists just like to keep their fish and enjoy their fish, just like me with the Goldfish mega tank behind me. I have 10 Oranda in here, which I don't intend to breed this year. Maybe next year I will give it a go, but I am just about keeping the fish, growing the fish, looking after them, and just enjoying them. And I feel like that is the way a huge amount of hobbyists are starting to go. Obviously, we still do have breeders around the country of different varieties, and obviously around the world there are a huge number of different breeders, but I would say a lot more fancy goldfish keepers are looking at buying small fish, growing them up, and just looking after these fish, nurturing them, and then potentially even showing them at a later date once they get a little bit larger, put a little bit more growth on, and sort of get into their adult size and maybe adult form. Lastly, another really good and positive thing about the GSGB is obviously Star Fisheries is now importing a lot more fish and a lot more variety of fish. Now, they have a much larger facility which is still in the building process and still getting developed, but they have a much larger facility now and are able to start potentially breeding some fish, selecting specific fish, and keeping certain lines of fish going, which is really nice to see. Obviously, back 50-60 years ago, they weren't able to import the same type and same style of fish that we can get today, and this is another reason how the GSGB is helping, combined with Star Fisheries and moving forward with the times, getting different quality of fish, getting different styles of fish, and just different varieties that maybe didn't exist back then. Now, the key benefits to take away from this video really is just what the GSGB is about, and that is essentially you are getting a national show, you're getting your quarterly newsletter, you are also getting access to the members forum, and also access to members with huge amounts of knowledge that they are willing to share with other hobbyists of the GSGB. Now, there is still a lot to do with the GSGB, and it is definitely a work in progress, and I myself hopefully am going to help the GSGB and potentially look at some other ideas and potential other things that members can benefit from going forward in the future. Maybe, as I said, there will be a few more events potentially, or maybe some competitions or something like that, which only members will be able to get. Now, I haven't spoken about membership fee because there is a membership fee to the GSGB, and that obviously goes towards advertising it, the newsletter, and everyone on the committee who combines together to make the GSGB function and put all of their efforts into it. Now, the GSGB cost is £25 per year, which I think is really good value for money. That's something like £2 a month, just over £2, £2.05p a month, which I think is absolutely great value for money. And if you're watching from home and you're under 18 but don't quite have the funds for it, then you are actually free to join. If you are under 18 years old, you are actually free to join the GSGB, which is great for youngsters trying to get into the hobby as well. Now, if you want to join the GSGB or have a little look about it, maybe I haven't clarified all of your questions, then there is actually a website. I'm going to put that down in the link below. You can check it out and have a look at it. And you can actually go through the website to purchase your yearly membership. Now, I believe the membership starts at the beginning of January. It is nearly Christmas, so maybe that could be a Christmas present for your other half, friend, or potentially even yourself. So definitely check it out down below. Hopefully you found this video interesting and learned a little bit about the Goldfish Society of Great Britain, one of, if not the oldest goldfish society in the world. Hopefully this video has been helpful. If you do have any questions, leave them down below, or feel free to send Andy from Star Fisheries an email. I'll pop his email down below if you've got any questions about joining the GSGB. But that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching. Remember to keep those water changes up, and happy fish keeping.